Hey guys, this is Professor Harris welcoming you to the new virtual online version of Labor Economics. There's a couple things I want to lay out about how we're going to move forward in the class right off the bat. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what the goal is for today's lecture and really for the rest of this week. So the first thing I want to say, and the most important thing I want to say, is to please stay safe, protect yourself, don't worry too much about this class, and focus on what's most important in your lives right now. So I know this is going to be a kind of chaotic time for all of us. It's going to be a learning experience for all of us as we move forward with this class. So please let me know what you need. Understand that we're all in this together. We're all trying to figure this out together. And my goal is to be maximally flexible to help you guys learn everything you were hoping to learn in this class, fulfill the goals of this class in a way that is going to minimize its impact on your lives during a stressful time. So that's what I'm trying to do. Please let me know what you need in order to make that happen. The second thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to lay out briefly what the rest of this semester is going to look like. So the strategy moving forward is going to be that most of the course content is going to be delivered to you in videos like this, right? So it's going to be asynchronous. I'll be posting these videos ahead of time, and you can watch them when it's convenient for you, ideally prior to our normal class meeting time. During our class meeting time, we're then going to get together to discuss some of the topics that we covered in these videos. So that's going to look like you guys asking questions to each other and to me about the content that we covered. It's also going to look like me breaking you guys up into smaller groups to discuss the issues that are being covered during lecture in the course of the week. So the ideal schedule is going to be prior to each class period, try to watch the videos, post some reflections or thoughts on Moodle, on the discussion board on Moodle, and then when you're able to, given your schedules, given time zones, all of these various restrictions, come into the Blue Jeans session for a simultaneous discussion of that course content. That's going to be the strategy we're going to take moving forward, and we'll adjust as need be. If this ends up being too chaotic or too difficult, we'll figure out what needs to happen in order to move things forward effectively. And so the last thing I just want to say is, again, to emphasize, do not hesitate to ask me for help with anything that you're going through during this process, any way that I can make this class better for you. And please make sure to put your safety and health and well-being first. Okay, so with all of that said, I want to spend a minute talking about what the goals are going to be for today's lecture and for the rest of the week's lecture. So this week, we're going to be working through two pieces of empirical evidence on the effect of minimum wages on employment of low-wage workers. And so I wanted to talk for a second about why this is an important subject and why this is something that we want to devote a little bit of class time to. So the first thing is, and probably the most straightforward thing, is that the minimum wage has the potential by itself to influence workers' lives in pretty profound ways. So as some of you might know, there's been a push in the United States recently for the federal minimum wage to increase to $15 an hour. Currently, about 40% of the US workforce works for less than $15 an hour. So by itself, the minimum wage has the potential to pretty dramatically increase earnings for workers. And of course, on the flip side, if the minimum wage comes with unintended negative consequences, such as lower levels of employment, a high minimum wage has the potential to harm a large number of workers. So by itself, this is an important policy to get right. And the second thing is, understanding what happens when we increase minimum wages can be a way to shed light on a broader set of tools we might try to use to increase workers' wages. As we talked about before the break, potentially the economy might look very different, our analysis of the economy might look very different if we think that employers have substantial power to set workers' wages than if we believe that labor markets are fundamentally competitive. And in particular, if we think that employers have significant market power in the labor market, lots of tools that can increase workers' wages, things like labor unions, things like wage boards, things like mandatory negotiation or mandatory disclosure of wages, could have the potential to increase workers' earnings a significant amount and potentially slow or reverse this trend that we've seen over the last 40 years of increasing income inequality. And so because the minimum wage is one of the most powerful tools that states and local and federal governments use, knowing what happens when we change minimum wages can potentially give us insight into what might happen if we employed these other sets of tools that could potentially affect an even wider set of workers. Things like increasing unionization, things like the use of wage boards, things like mandatory disclosure of earnings. Okay, so what the rest of this lecture is going to look like, I'm going to be splitting this lecture up into separate videos, each of which is going to be about 10 minutes long. In the first video, we're going to go over the theory of how we might expect minimum wages to affect employment given 3 different models of the economy. Then we're going to go over the strategy used by Card and Krueger to try to estimate the effect of a particular minimum wage increase that affected New Jersey. We're going to talk about what they find, and we're going to think about how to interpret their findings. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day.